they said you weren't good, or
Yeah.
like you were a doo-doo head, like,
Yeah.
okay, like, oh God, I'm done.
Yes. I don't get the premise of it. I think that it's like, if you're defending jobs that are that basic, I understand that people need jobs and that, you know, like it's important to have an entry level job, but if we can create technology that's cheaper to make,
like a parking meter.
like a parking meter.
Yeah.
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 That's automation of jobs with technology. Nobody complained about parking meters taking that random dude's job, but
Imagine just having a bunch of people like standing on the side of the road, just like as parking meters, like waiting for them. They took my job.
that's a skit. That's a beautiful skit. But like, so to give everybody more context, there was this Reddit post that I saw that was this dishwasher, but it was like an industrial one. So it took a plate, it like suction cupped a plate, and then it like spun this thing and it cleaned the plate, and it has like these cameras to make sure that everything's clean and everything like that. And then it stacks the plates back up. So it's like, if you've ever been to like Old Country Buffet where they have like the plates that like slowly rise up as you take them.
Yeah.
It's the same thing up and down. So like you put a plate that's dirty and it gets stacked into this machine that then you like plug it into the big machine.
Yeah.
So somebody was complaining. They were like, "Oh, this is taking people's jobs. Like we have to automate everything now." And I was like, "Is that really the level that you want to be operating at?" It's like is that important of a job that you have a problem automating it?
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely like one of those menial jobs that, like, I mean, I hate to say like that nobody wants to do. There are people like just starting off and entry level, getting out of that's like a high school job, you know what I mean, where I want to wash dishes. And for that concept, yeah, I guess. But there's other jobs being created.
Yeah.
And it's just like, but if you, that's why you have to keep up with education. You know what I mean? And it not necessarily get degrees, but like keep up with yourself so that you're strong enough to learn new things and get better.
Eric, it's the principle, man. First it's the dishwasher. Next they're gonna be taking the parking meters, and then you'll never know. I mean, like, who's gonna open doors for people? Pretty soon they're gonna take that away from us too.
They have automatic doors? No.
Yeah, it's really sad because it's all like people are acting like these are career jobs. And while I understand there's nothing wrong with being a dishwasher, please, like I understand that these are jobs that we need. I love having clean plates at restaurants. Like don't get me wrong in any way whatsoever. But these are not career jobs. Like nobody is expecting somebody to have 40 years worth of dishwashing experience. Like these are jobs for high schoolers, like Eric said, and for elderly people. Those are the people who are supposed to be doing these jobs. And as we grow as a society, as we become more technologically advanced and more economically advanced, you know, like understanding the education level rises over time, we should outsource these jobs to machines so that our population can do more complex tasks. You know?
Yeah, that's actually perfectly put. I agree.
And the reason why this was in the show notes was because it allows us to have this information renaissance that we're having right now, which is everybody going to do creative things. Like this happened in Rome when all of like the super rich people basically paid a bunch of artists to go and paint all day, and which is where the word patron comes from, which is where we're on Patreon if you're watching this video. That's the same root word of that. But like we're having that same thing where the masses are paying creative people to go and make creative content, and we're having this information renaissance again.
That's very interesting.
That's really good. So seeing that we didn't still do what we talked about. Hey, welcome to the Life Podcast. Hey everybody, good morning. I'm Tyler and I'm here with Benji.
Hello.
And Eric.
What's going on?
What's up? So this is episode 35 of the Life Podcast, the Practical Life Application Podcast, where we talk about all kinds of ridiculous stuff, and it's really super awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Is it 35?
Yeah, today's 35.
35.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot of.
But yeah, we had some good response with our guinea pig group on 34.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, the two people that I was the whole gang.
The gang's all here.
No, I let a couple people listen to 34 early, and they really responded to it.
Well, that's
Oh, yeah.
good.
That's
it was really, really good.
Yeah, I responded to it too. I was sitting there like, man, I need to get my life together.
I don't remember what we talked about.
Growing up.
Growing up.
okay.
Just because you're grown.
Yeah.
Oh, just gonna make for grown.
Oh yeah.
Just because
yeah.
you're a grown.
Just because you're a grown, absolutely.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that was funny. Anyway, so what else are we doing?
So
We kind of have like a
Waterbeds?
yeah.
So,
Well,
what happened to Waterbeds?
yeah, you want to talk about waterbeds?
I
Please,
don't
Ben.
want to talk about that. I just I put the word waterbeds in the show note because I was like, whatever happened to waterbeds? Like, what? Why was that not a more accepted thing?
Well, my question is like, well, what? It's not 1975 anymore. Like,
That was like new age technology in like 75. You know,
A bag of water, basically.
Yeah,
was new
let's
age
sleep on
technology.
this sack of water. Nothing could ever go wrong.
yeah, right. As you're sleeping, like safety third,
You
you end up
forgot to
drowning
take
while you're sleeping because the thing just like busts.
You fell asleep with your keys in your pocket, doomed.
That's it. Oh, I always
swim.
I wanted one when I was a kid, like a lot. Like I really wanted one. One of my friends got one. I don't know what happened to that one.
I would
either.
never give my kid a waterbed.
I just feel like I never got one, but I feel
Yeah.
like it would be really cool.
Yeah.
What is your safety concern with the waterbed? Like I feel like if they pop, they just like pop out.
I don't know if your insurance company covers the damages. I think they specifically say we don't cover waterbed damages.
Maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's everybody was all like, somebody got hit with like a $4,000 water repair bill, and they were like insurance, and the insurance was like, nah,
Nah, bro, we don't cover waterbeds.
Just this one time. That from there on,
that was it. That was it. Everybody learned from that guy's mistake.
I'm just picturing like carrying. Like I've never actually been on a waterbed or like seen one, but I'm just assuming like you've carried mattresses. What's it like carrying a waterbed?
But you fill it up. Dude, it's empty.
Oh,
and you fill it up on
after?
location.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
I thought you just buy
It's
it with.
disposing of it. That's the hard part.
Yeah, it's like, where do you get rid of the water? And then you can't get it. Yeah, that's probably why they got
Yeah.
rid of them too. It's like this
It's not
isn't practical.
Yeah.
My mom helped somebody. She's probably thinking this right now. She helped somebody remove a waterbed one time, and she said it was the worst experience she's had moving any furniture. They were trying to pour it out of a window. It was not working. I don't know the specifics of the story, but it sounded like it was a bad experience overall.
Just leave the mattress.
Just sell the house with the water mattress full.
This is the reason why you pay home insurance.
Yeah.
Oh man. So there's water mattresses, and that's why.
That's it. That's all we have.
that's it. Let's pull up the show notes.
Hey, in fairness, guys, come on. We did 35 episodes this season. Like, what else you want from us?
There was a lot of stuff.
Well, we were talking about the development of technology. Did you guys hear that there's actually like robots that they're developing now that can actually create art?
Oh yeah, the artificial intelligence. Yeah, they've been trying that for a while.
Not just tell you to pick up the spill.
No, not just telling you to pick up an aisle 9.
Yeah.
But it's actually like being able to take a bunch of art that like it like scans a ton of different art pieces, and it just generates its own little idea of what art is, and then it remanifests its own painting.
Mm-hmm.
And it's actually kind of scary, the fact that it actually does pretty good.
Yeah.
Like it's not perfect, obviously, but it's like the level that it's at and where it's going, it is kind of like, wow, like you're gonna be able to pay a robot one day to do your art.
Well, Becky was talking about it, and she was like, yeah, all the art museums that they would take us when I was getting my art degree, like, I remember going to this one exhibit, and it was just like a blank white canvas with like a piece of toast nailed to it. It was like, pretty sure you could teach a robot to do that too. Like,
Well, but like so yeah, fair. I went to a modern art museum one time with somebody who didn't understand modern art, and I don't. The purpose for all of you who don't understand modern art is to invoke a response, any response. It's not, and I guess that's a bit of a cop out, but I like it because of that. And the person I was with just didn't understand that. So like she didn't understand like any of the references that were happening here, and it was all like, well, it's just to invoke a response. So there was this. I'm going to explain this art piece. It's a bit complicated. It was basically like, you think of like a thing that you put above a baby's bed, like that, like spins
mobile.
around.
Mobile,
a mobile,
yeah.
yep. Okay, so a mobile with like this foam dog hanging off of it, and it was just like dragging the foam dog on the ground, and it was like this like room, like 100 by 100 room, and that was the only thing that was in it, and I was all like, oh, that's heavy, and she just looked at me like I was crazy, and I was like, oh no, it's supposed to invoke a response of like sadness, and it's like it's a foam dog, but you feel a response to it, and it's like GG. So what I was going on, GG, rip foam dog. Now everybody else thinks I'm crazy too, but that's fine. But the point of art is to invoke a response because somebody put effort into it.
Yeah.
It's like when you take a computer and you generate something, there's no emotion.
Yeah.
It's just a computer that looked at Starry Night. It said, okay, people like this painting, so I'm going to make it, but it's going to be London instead. And it takes the same premise and it just makes London the Starry Night version. That doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that that's really what art is, because we were talking about in our famous episode where we were talking about the pyramid, and, you know, at the top it's social interaction. And it's like a social interaction allows you to go and do things that have no intrinsic value. You know, and it's like art is the antithesis, is the epitome of that, where it's like there is no intrinsic value to art. There's no intrinsic value to this podcast, but you listen to it and you support it because you like the content that's being created.
Yeah. But it's not like a one size fits all. It's not like it's a very okay. I completely agree with you with where you're coming from. Yeah, art. It's oh, what's the word? That's unfortunate.
Anyways, so welcome to the Art Commentary Podcast.
Yeah.
Well, but it's like
that would be. We should do art commentary. Nobody can see it. We're just explaining it.
So it's a piece of toast, right? Get this.
But it's like golden brown, not like brown.
What do you think that means?
Yeah.
This is a canvas. This is your brain.
Yeah.
This is your brain on drugs.
But think of what Eric does. Okay, like you mix music.
Yeah.
Okay, there is no
Subjective is the word.
Yeah,
But go ahead.
subjective. Yeah,
art is very
subjective.
subjective. Yeah.
There's no intrinsic value to music. People pay millions of dollars a year for music. It's $1 billion industry.
Yeah.
But there's no value to it.
No.
All that we do is this song makes me feel things. So like when I listen to Taylor Swift, I feel happy or I feel sad. And when I listen to Ed Sheeran, I feel happy or I feel sad. Or like, you know, Beyonce, whatever. It's like it invokes an emotional reaction. And that's what you're paying for. You're paying to kind of go on an emotional roller coaster.
Yeah, absolutely. And so there you go. There's art, and I don't think a robot can do that.
So no one has any other comments.
No, I mean you kind of hit it all.
No,
Tyler, you don't believe. Let's have a modern art conversation. You don't agree with modern art?
No, I completely agree with modern art. As an artist myself, like I understand the emotion behind things, and if it evokes that emotion, that's fine. It can be a piece of toast buttered and nailed to a wall. Like if that makes you, if that can resonate with you and be like I said, like wow, that's my brain right now. Like that's fine. Or music too. Growing up, I listened to a lot of I guess very artistically subjective music where it wasn't natural progressions or very just outlandish and far out there to the point where most people would be like, this is messed up and weird. Like it didn't musically make sense to most people's ears. But I mean obviously I fell in love with it. I mean band like System of a Down was my favorite band for I don't even know how long growing up as a kid. And that is just like the most random amalgamation of just outrageousness. Noise. But yeah, I mean, really, that's what I don't have much commentary as far as an art piece. I mean, like, okay, like you like art, you don't like art. That's cool. Oh, talking about live music too. People are paying for that experience, and I'm a little wary. This might be an unpopular opinion. I'm a little wary of people who say I don't like live music. I don't like the live version unless the band actually really, really stinks live. Yeah. Most people be like, "Oh, it doesn't sound exactly like the song. I fell in love with it." But it's like, you're looking for that real raw emotion. You should be grabbing onto the person who's actually there, pouring that emotion out forward, rather than like, "Oh, that one recorded experience where it didn't sound exactly right, so I don't like it anymore."
Yeah. A lot of people just want the polished version. Art's very subjective, you know, and like that's what I was going to say earlier. And it's unbelievable how you could take one simple piece of art, like it could be a song. Songs happen all the time where it's just like, just because who the artist is, there's a group of people who won't even listen to it. You know what I mean? Just because of who, like what the song is about, a bunch of people can't relate to it. They're just not in that place in their life. Like if it's a love song and they just went through a breakup, they're not going to be listening to this love song.
Yeah.
So it's amazing how art is so subjective, where it could be the same piece that everyone hears the same exact thing, and you have dozens, if not hundreds, of different opinions on the same song. And that's my favorite part about music is it's never one size fits all. You'll never appease to the entire crowd with one piece of art. And those that do this called a masterpiece. But even that, and it's more of like a respect thing. Like you respect the Mona Lisa. You don't necessarily like the Mona Lisa. You respect it because of how far it's come and how what everyone's opinion is of it. Like I look at the Mona Lisa, it looks like another painting. But like it's not nothing spectacular. But it's like, but I've also never seen the live version of it.
The live version,
like the
Yeah, I've only seen
I prefer the Mona Lisa acoustic unplugged, please.
the in-person version of it. I've only seen pictures of it. So maybe it's a different experience when you see the actual piece in front of you.
I don't think it is.
I can't imagine it is.
Well, you should give her some eyebrows.
we can talk about that. We'll come back.
Stay tuned.
We would like to thank Anchor for sponsoring and hosting the Life podcast. So who are Anchor and what do they do? Anchor is the all-in-one platform that gives you everything you need to make and publish your podcast. And best of all, it's all free. Anchor allows you to use their creative tools to record and edit your podcast. No need for any fancy professional equipment. Sounds amazing, right? And we haven't even gotten to the best part. Anchor isn't just a recording and editing platform. They're a publisher too. This means that Anchor takes care of all of the hard stuff, like publishing to Apple and Google Podcasts, so you don't have to. So what are you waiting for? Download the Anchor app today or go to anchor.fm to get started. Another thanks to Anchor for hosting, publishing, and sponsoring the Life podcast.
Up the avenue for like, oh, you get more listeners, you get new viewers. It's like, okay, well, I like this one song by them. Well, let me listen to their album or let me listen to their whole catalog.
Yeah, because we do a lot of things. We dabble in a lot of stuff, and we create this podcast as kind of just our, this is like our meeting. This is our meeting that we have every morning. But we have a bunch of other stuff that we like to create to kind of just fuel that creative side of us. I think it's important to remember that like when you get to that creativity level, it's like at the higher level of your needs. Like this is like the pinnacle, the top of the pyramid that we talked about the other day. Like you don't worry, like you create your best art when you have the foundational piece, all your needs met. And if you're trying to create art and it's just not happening, or you're in this roadblock, writer's block or creativity block in any way, it's usually because there's some sort of need that you're missing that isn't completely fulfilled.
I don't think you can force it, but I think the best recipe for the best art is you have your basic needs met, but you're lacking emotionally.
Yeah.
And that's where the music will step in and fill the void.
Yeah. When I create music, there was at one point where I could only create music from an emotional place.
That's the only place I used to write.
Yeah, and it used to get very frustrating because I would like absolutely pour out on whatever it is that I would be working on, and I would have the time of my life. But as soon as I finished, I would feel so absolutely completely drained.
Yeah,
and I would be so done. I'd be cooked, and I wouldn't be able to and then anything else that I tried to create after that, I wouldn't have anything left in the tank to really create. But that was some of my best work. So it's like a trade-off. Like that's why like an artist's life is so difficult. We could talk about that too. How like the highest suicide, one of the highest suicide rates in America is artistic, is artistic beings because of that. Because they truly do pour all of their sane emotions into the pieces that they create for the world, and they love doing that. But after they're finished, they feel very lonely and vulnerable. They've literally put out everything they have onto whatever piece of art that they just created, and it exposes them. Yeah, in a way that
you're really vulnerable. That's a big thing too, especially being like, oh, these are things that happen to me, or this is the way that I feel, and here's the entire world now looking at. Exactly. At the inside, that's a crazy place to be.
And because art is so subjective, you will get people that don't agree with it. And a lot of artists take that, especially unexperienced and amateur artist will take that and become very offended by it.
Yeah,
and
right. What do you mean my emotions suck? Like,
oh yeah, the amount of like a very over emotional artist that I personally know is it's crazy because it's very understandable because they do pour out everything on the table, and the world doesn't always take it the way they expect them to, and because of that, you get into very low depressed places. I talk about it with you guys. I don't think I've ever said it on camera or on mic, but it's like I had a fellow engineer that I've never worked with, but I've had conversation with, and he was telling me about post-album depression. And it was interesting because I looked at him funny, and then I started thinking about all the times I had finished an album or worked on an album. And it's like one of those things where you pour your entire heart out for like 3 to 6 months on a project, and you pour everything you have. You're up 10, 12 hours a day. Everything you've got goes into this, and then you complete it. Mm-hmm. And then when you're done, you've poured everything out, and now there's nothing left to do, and you don't have another album to pick up, and you're supposed to be, okay, this should be like my time off now, take a week off. But what really happens is you're taking that time off in a depressive state, trying to find your meaning of life again.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Absolutely. I mean, right after we finished Pathway, Benjamin knows how much life and soul and energy we put into that rock opera, and then the minute it was done, I mean, we were spending 4 or 5 hours in rehearsal plus. And multiple times a week, 3-4 times a week, if not more, and then we're still spending time with each other on top of it. And then the everything's done. You've been binging this music for so long, and now it's like I don't want to taste it. I don't want to hear, touch, see anything about this. Yeah. It's like, but what's this life for now?
Yeah, what is life about? And it's like, and that's what a regular artist goes through on a regular basis, especially one that creates on a high level. This is why they have writers. This is why they have instrumentalists. This is why they have a bunch of different pieces, because when you put all this faith into one person to maintain their emotions and create high quality content, and then hopefully make money off of it if you're a record label, this is why they have a bunch of different pieces in the pot, so that not one person is taking the entire hit, and you still get like the depressive states because it is still an art being created, but you minimize it so that you could create at higher volumes, so that you have your recording artist that doesn't get overwhelmed because they didn't have to write the song, and they didn't have to, all they have to do is record the song and then perform the song 750 times across every state and country in the world.
Well, I think taking a page out of like some of the best rock bands, the best rock bands, they'll be writing while they're on tour. They make this one breakout album, they'll start touring, but like in their free time off, they actually do, because I mean, you get so ingrained and so used to playing the same songs that mental space in your brain, it just becomes autopilot, so that you have freed up space to be able to write on the side. So like during their breaks, during their off time, they'll write, and then the minute they're like done with tour or even like ending tour, they'll go and sit down in one session, 2 sessions, 3 sessions at the most, go finish an album and see you later, back out on tour. Yeah, and they have to repeat that cycle or else their band falls apart.
Absolutely. Like the tour bus, most of them have like some sort of recording rig somewhere on the tour bus. So most artists, when they're on tour, they're actually like, they're on the show, they get sleep, they wake up in the morning, they work on music, on their new music all day. And most of the time they're writing like 30 songs and picking 2, so they're just writing, creating. And then they get to where they get the music they like, but as soon as they're done working all day, they get on stage again. You know what I mean? So it's like, that's what they're getting paid for, but all day they're working behind the scenes making their next album. And then when the tour finally is over, they hit the studio and they record everything to a final version.
Right. I took a master class with one of my older favorite artists online, actually. Like I got to Skype with him face to face.
Cool.
And he was saying like he wakes up every single day, and he puts that conscious foot forward and saying, I don't care if it's trash, I don't care what it is, I'm going to write a little something this morning and every single day. I'm gonna set aside 20 minutes just to be creative, 30 minutes to be creative, be a little fluid, so that if it's flowing real good, you can sit into it. But like, even if I force myself to write for 10 minutes, I gotta do it. And when you practice that, it's like a muscle. Creativity is like a muscle too. The more you do it, the more it will start to flow. And as long as your needs are met and you're not just like cooked thinking about something else, and you're just putting that conscious foot forward into creativity, you'll see that it will go a long way.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's the thing about, like you said, creativity is another muscle. It really is. And you have to practice that muscle. You have to work out that muscle in order for it to be stronger, and so that you can learn everything, so that when the creativity does come and it does start to flow, it's not like weird territory. It's like you've already had the practice and you've already have all these strengths that you've built up.
Well, we're not talking about practice either, like physical practice. You can play guitar and not be creative. You can practice guitar every day and not be creative. You can practice mixing music and not be creative every single day. You can just practice the techniques. But practicing actually being creative and creating is it's a very powerful tool to start using.
Absolutely, and it's also as I was enjoying listening to this conversation because I don't do auditory stuff. You know, I do my storytelling via either written work or through pictures or videos. You know, that's the way that I do storytelling. So it's interesting to see how it's, you know, music is such a day-to-day portion of our lives, and it's so important. And with a background in computer science, I can teach a computer music, and I can teach a computer like chord progressions or whatever, and I can teach a computer the English language and how to do things. But no matter what song,
24-bit.
yeah, exactly, yeah, basically. But it's like you can teach a computer whatever you want to teach it, and it still won't. You can write an amazing song, but if there's no emotion there, it's not the same song. Like, it doesn't understand why it's writing a song. You know, computers are basic machines, and it's like when the music industry transitioned from one artist, one album to we're going to take this person and they're going to be the face of all of this music. That really changed the way that things happen. You know, there's this guy called Benny Blanco who's written like 111 songs, like top hits for these guys. And he doesn't know how to play guitar. He doesn't know how to play any instrument. He's all like, he just knows the song. He knows how to write lyrics. He understands how he wants the song to sound.
Throw it over a G, C, D, E minor and call it a day.
Basically, like he just talks to the artist and he says, I want it to go da-na-na-na-na, like that. And it's like, okay. And it's like, okay, this is now the song. And that's the way that he that's the way he writes his songs.
Yeah.
And it's like, he's a massively successful music writer, but he has absolutely no idea how to play the songs that they are. But it's like, does that make his songs worth any less? It means that the emotion, the true emotion, isn't going to be from Benny Blanco, but the music itself is still there.
Wow, that's really profound. Like, the modern music industry, when people write your own songs, you are being an actor on stage.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's terrible that you're creating these fake emotions. I guess that's why music's really watered down now too. It's like you have to react from a certain place. Like, and I mean, obviously, like, actors will pull on traumatic things that happened to them in the past to be able to evoke emotion in a scene that has nothing to do with the actual movie, but they need to bring that forward for it to be at least somewhat genuine. With those air quotes. But wow, that's really amazing. Like, somebody like Ariana Grande or whatever, like, she has to just be an actress.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, I just have to pretend.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's like they say. Sorry, they say music was better when ugly people made it.
Yeah,
because
that was their song.
That's what all of these people are. You know, it's all like if Elton John was selected just based off of his looks. With all due respect to Elton John, who's an amazing songwriter, he wouldn't have been selected over somebody else.
He wasn't the pretty face.
Exactly. But Elton John makes good music, or subjectively good music. You know, it's all like, that's why he was selected, and that's why he's still around, because he still makes like good music.
Yeah. And when you get a new artist and when they first break out into that first piece is really, they're probably the most authentic piece. So that's what got them noticed, and that's what they most likely wrote that first piece, and that's why they hit the radio. So anything before that is all the stuff that they did, the grit, all the albums and pre-signing work that they did that got them signed. So that's really what you want to listen to if you really want to get the emotion from this artist.
As far as mainstream music goes.
Absolutely, yeah. It's really where I'm going from, is because we were talking about like Ariana Grande and Beyonce and all that. So yeah, but before, I don't know about Beyonce, I don't know any of her previous work, but but like anything that was like, they do have like a repertoire of like things that was not written by somebody else, and that's really where the emotion from them comes from. But yeah, no, I completely agree. Anything that you take that's written by somebody else, you are an actor, and that's why you're a recording artist. And that's, you're not the actual writing artist. You're not the you're not the guitarist. You are the recording artist, and you are an actor on scene.
And even more on that vein, that's why, like, the live performance, that's why so many music artists are now becoming movie actors, because they already, when they go on tour, they already do all of the choreography, they already do all of the like the acting, the mannerisms, everything like that. Every single iteration of their show is cookie cutter.
Every single lady.
So it's like, why not become an actor? If you're gonna get paid, you might as well get paid to be on a movie,
Right.
You know?
Yeah, there was one song in particular. It was Pharrell Williams on one of his on his album Nerd. He had Rihanna featuring on one of his songs, and the song was called Lemon. And when her verse came on, she actually rapped. Like, I've never heard Rihanna rap before, and it was like a really well done emotional rap. Like, not emotional, but like really well done, well delivered piece of music. And I was like, wow, that was awesome. I didn't know Rihanna could do that. So then months later, I ended up getting behind the scene access to this song from the mixing engineer, and he was showing me. He was showing us like how it got done, and it was like, oh, Pharrell actually recorded her part, and she kind of just
Copied it,
went over it while hearing his verse on the headphones, and like just mimicked what he did, and he wrote the verse, and he did all the work, and I was just like, that makes a lot more sense. But it's like that kind of stuff is like the stuff that you don't know. I didn't realize that before, but you know, after you get behind the scene access and you hear that, it's like, okay.
Well, that kind of that falls down into that camp category. Is most of the time, like they say, don't meet your heroes. You get, because the closer you get to your heroes, the more you find out that they're not perfect, or they didn't do it exactly like you've always put them up to do.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I mean, once in a while, your heroes will surprise you and be like, wow, you are actually as amazing as I thought. But I'll tell you 99% of the time, everybody that I've met that I've actually admired, especially as like an artist or a musician, if I meet them, like, wow, this is not, you're not the person I thought you were.
Well, back in the day, they always used to say, don't watch how the sausage is made or whatever it was.
Oh,
and
yeah,
it's all
right.
like, that's the media industry as a whole. Like, it's like, you watch the Avengers movie, all of it's the actors on a green screen. It's like, all of it.
Yeah,
It's like,
if you actually see the the film of them, like, not with the CG, it's just them like
exactly. It's like jumping in and out of frame. It's all like,
with a really uncomfortable suit on with a bunch of bulbs on it.
yeah, absolutely. Or like, oh, you watch. There's like so many shots of like people eating on set, and it's like you eat it and you have to spit it into a bucket because if you're gonna do 100 takes of the same bite of a hamburger, you're gonna be like you're gonna be obliterated, like so sick by the end of day one. So it's like you can't do it. So don't watch how the sausage is made. But there's polarizing effects. Either you dislike it or it makes you want to do it more. And some people aren't willing to take that risk of saying, okay, do I want to become a filmmaker? Do I want to become a songwriter? Do I want to become a mix engineer? Versus I'm good just listening to the music that I want to listen to.
Absolutely. Yeah, and there's, especially from an artist's perspective of it, you really have to love the behind the scenes stuff. You have to love being there. Like there's artists that I work with that don't like being in the studio for the entire process, and it's like they just want to do the recording part or whatever, and they just like, okay, you got the rest, and they kind of take off.
Just leave.
And it's like, I understand that it's a long process, but it's a part of the process, and especially if it's your music, like you have to be a part of that process to see it all the way through, or else you're kind of just giving up your creative input to whoever else is going to be, whoever you're paying to do that too. But very interesting nonetheless. So we'll be back, and stay tuned.
That's why that couch is so rough. It's like you want to lean back, but you can't really get the thing.
Do the rock away.
What? Did you look up Fat Joe yet?
No, not yet. No.
It's been 30 episodes.
I know. I'm sorry. Yeah, it has been a while. Jeez.
Nah, today was a rough one, man. I was pretty tired waking up, no doubt.
I was really awake today.
Oh, you woke up at like 12 o'clock?
I woke up multiple times in the night, and I was like, "Okay, time to go. Time to go." I was like, "What is going on?"
Nope, go to bed. All right, is it time yet?
Yeah, that's basically. I was like a little kid, like going to like an amusement park. I was like, "Oh, it's 12:51. Okay, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. Okay, it's 4 o'clock in the morning." I was like, "What is going on?"
But awake every time.
Yeah, and then when I actually had to get up, I was so
like,
tired. I was like,
yep.
"What?" Okay.
Yeah, it took me forever to fall asleep, but no, I didn't want to wake up either. So never mind.
All right, so let's get back to what we were talking about.
I'm talking about the final frontier of, as Tyler said, the final frontier of media.
You want me to put what I said on mic? Like,
yeah, you can.
During the break?
Yeah.
All right, so we were talking about it, just like the advent of grunge. I guess I talk about grunge a lot. Or we were talking about media itself. Well, we'll back up to music. So you think about the advent of grunge rock. It was such polished hair metal for so long that the mid 90s came around and the early 90s came around, and it was such this unrefined, unpolished, raw realness. I mean, people singing and screaming in flat tones. I mean, it was sonically not even appealing, but it was so refreshing because it was a contrast to whatever else was actually going on at the time, that it flourished because it was so genuine and real. And we were talking about the advent of YouTube, but even before that, like Bam Margera and CKY, one of my favorite, one of my heroes growing up as a kid, and Johnny Knoxville with his group in Jackass, that was birthed out of consumer level camcorders, doing the best with what you had, and they rocked it. Like grunge was at its peak. It was like 95 or so, somewhere around the mid 90s, where CKY started to really take off and Jackass really started to take off. And it was like, yeah, people ate that up because, wow, this is so real. This is stupid people doing stupid things in their backyards, and I can really relate to this right now.
Absolutely, and YouTube as a platform has enabled so many people to get into the media industry, because that's really what it was. Because back when we're talking like early or the 80s or the 90s, the barrier to entry was so high, because one, everything was shot on film. So or if you were shooting on digital, it was very, very expensive to shoot on digital, and you had to have these massive hard drives. But the amount of money it cost to get in was absurd.
Well, dude, think about it. We were talking about our first flip phones the other night, the other Sunday night on our fireside chat, and like I had a Nextel i730, and that was like what, 2006, 2007, somewhere around there. And like you were floored at that time if you could have like a 10 megapixel camera or like an 8 megapixel camera, and that would cost you hundreds of dollars.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, the cost to play the game. The cost to play the game now has lowered so much that it enables anybody to get involved, which is an amazing time, because that's why we say that YouTube is the final frontier, because it's some of the rawest stuff on there. You can pretty much catch almost anything on YouTube.
All right. Well, even now, back up, when I was graduating high school and I was really into film and going to New England Tech, like I was at the advent in the cusp of a technological revolution where you could buy like a hard drive, a camera that had a hard drive, but that was exuberant amounts of money, so everybody was doing things on tape, and it was really hard. The pay to play and the usability, the user friendliness when it came to it was really, really hard. You still had to go from tape to tape and then firewire to digital, and it was a real process, and it was really tough.
Or even back when digital graphics became really new, when you had to, like, if you were overlaying graphics on a live video feed, you had to sync up the values on the monitors so that it would show up, because if it was updating at different times, the text wouldn't show up or the background wouldn't show up. And it's like you had to have professional grade equipment to put text on a screen.
Yeah.
Now you open your iPhone and that's like a basic setting on iMovie, and it's like iMovie is absolute trash.
Shout out to iMovie, Apple, fix it.
Yeah.
You can't move any of the text. You can put your subtitles and everything. They're like, oh, we'll make it as easy as possible. You cannot create anything that you actually want to create. But anyways, therapy.
It's all like for like nominal amounts of money, you can get professional grade software. Like before, proprietary software was only available to multi-million-dollar corporations. Like it's like if you were a studio, you got Adobe Premiere. It's like now Adobe Premiere and After Effects are short money, like comparatively to what they should be costing. It's like these are available to everyone. Like the same software that movies use, you can use at your own home. And it's like being able to shoot on your phone, edit on your laptop, and post to a platform like YouTube and be able to be monetized and to build a following like that. That's absurd.
Yeah.
It's like you used to have to approach corporations like TV stations and say, here, one, get a meeting with them, which was impossible. Two, not lose them within the first 5 minutes of your pitch of why you should allow my project to go on. And if they said no, what are you supposed to do with the $3 million that you just spent on a TV series?
Jeez.
It's like
that's a bad day.
That's a horrible day, because it's like, oh, you don't get this TV station? What, you're going to go to the next one and they're going to be like, oh, we were your second choice?
Yeah, right.
It's like you're out.
Yeah, and you think about the level of technology. We keep bringing it. Well, I keep bringing it back to music because it's just what I know best.
No, absolutely.
But like even for like recording studios, how it's like transitioned slowly into home studios, and like a large percentage of the music you're listening to, maybe not all of it, but a pretty impressive number of it is actually being recorded and produced in home studios. Then you're hearing it on the radio, and it's mind blowing where the technology has gone. Where it's lowered the bar for people to enter and still create very high level stuff. You know, as and I don't mean to lower the bar of technicality or of skill. It's lowered the bar of pay to play, where it's like a lot easier for someone to dump 10 grand into something and be at a level where a studio is at $1 million.
Well, we talked about studio, like old school studios, like when everything was analog, it was all tapes, it was all these extravagant, expensive machines to be able to run. Spending time with Eric Gillette in January in his own home studio, he produces he produces commercial albums. I mean, like big names he'll produce right out of his house.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I just bought this little space. Like he was saying, like, okay, my drum mics cost like $500. I got this. Like I don't have extravagant things. We were recording bass tracks with a Squire bass, like a cheap Chinese, like $200-$300 bass. It's like, yeah, this is all we need. I can get this thing to sound mint. It's like, wow, like you didn't have to pay to play.
Yeah, or even kids in their house. You buy $100 worth of soundproofing foam. You got a closet in your house. You buy a preamp, a mic, and you have a laptop.
That was his vocal booth. It was a closet with a mic with like a piece of like cardboard in front of it.
Absolutely,
That's where I started.
With if you have $1,000, you can get into any field right now in the creative space, and you can perform. Like Billie Eilish, who's I don't know if you guys
Eyelash.
know. Yeah.
I was calling it that at work. I was like Billie Eyelash.
Billie Eilish, who is 18 now.
She's
17 or 18. She has a couple good songs.
God.
God, that's a girl.
Yeah.
Okay.
She has a couple good songs. She's blown up in the last couple years. Louis Vuitton just sponsored her for some stuff. She's the face of a new brand. But like,
dude, I watched her Hot Ones episode. I don't know. You guys know what Hot Ones is?
No,
where they eat chicken wings with this guy Sean Evans.
Oh yeah.
Anyways, like, dude, her personality is like a stale cracker.
Well, personality aside, she is the epitome of what we're talking about.
Yep.
Regardless of if you like her, if you don't like her, she started in her bedroom recording Ocean Eyes. Ocean Eyes, which is my favorite song from her, which is actually a pretty good song. Ocean Eyes was recorded in her bedroom with her brother, who wrote it, I think.
Yep.
And now she's recording multi-million-dollar labels. It's like within two years. It's like anybody can do that. Like it's hard. Don't get me wrong. Not everybody's gonna get it, but don't think about all of the other people. Think about yourself.
Well,
think about what am I gonna achieve.
I don't want to like kneecap what you're saying, and I'm not negating it at all. But she was she had special circumstances too. I guess she was homeschooled, and like her parents like had some kind of connections.
Well, I mean, Taylor Swift's dad bought a record label, so I guess there's something to be said about that. Like for her to start too. But
absolutely, to jump in. It's like, but it's possible for anybody too.
Oh, absolutely.
That's the thing about where like this entry level pay to play thing is. It makes it a lot more affordable to the people who want to be behind the scenes. It also makes it much more affordable for the artists to get involved and be able to produce at higher levels, even if they don't have the skills. If they want to take the time, they can take the time, and they have the resources to learn everything behind the scenes so that they can produce their own stuff. Or if they can muster up like $300, $400, $500, they can get something at an extremely high level where people are paying thousands of dollars to do in a recording studio, commercial recording studio. So it's just like the technology has improved so much where it's gotten a lot more people to enter the game.
Yeah.
Which isn't all necessarily good, because you also get like the really low quality stuff that comes out and kind of floods a lot. And so it's a lot harder for someone who is actually talented, who has this, well, they're talented, to get noticed, because there's so much noise to siphon through, to that, like, you don't see. You just don't hear the person that needs to get the attention or deserves the attention.
Absolutely. And to rebuttal what Tyler was saying about the special circumstances stuff, which is usually true, there are success stories with people who didn't have special circumstances. Absolutely. We talk about David Dobrik a lot, who started with like a basic handy camera and ended up now is on a bunch of Nickelodeon TV shows now.
Or even so, like we were saying, Bam Margera.
Yeah, there's a bunch of people. Knoxville. You know, within a nominal span of time, within the last 5 4 years, David Dobrik has gone from some nobody YouTuber to published with Nickelodeon, like on multiple TV shows. It's do you want to put in the work? It's like there's a level of like you have to have a drive to do it. Whatever creative space you're in, and that's really the whole point of this show as a whole is. Do you have a dream? Whatever your dream is, what do you want to achieve? And are you willing to work harder than anybody else to achieve that goal? Yep. And that's really it. It's all like the dollar amounts don't really factor in anymore. It's like as dumb as that sounds, because we talk about $80,000 cameras and $2 million movie sets. It's like the money is not the hardest part of this equation.
Nope.
It's so like if you produce good content and you produce it consistently and you produce it to your highest possible degree, people in the industry understand. They know that what that camera can do, and if you're doing amazingly with that camera, what can you do if I gave you $100,000? What can you do if I gave you $1 million? And they understand that value to budget ratio.
Absolutely. If I could go back in time 10 years and talk to myself, I would definitely tell myself that money is not the hardest part. I used to always believe that money was the hardest part, especially in my younger years, because it was just kind of like this, you need money to play. But if I could go back now, like money is the easiest part of the equation, because money is multipliable and you can always make money. You can't always find the drive. You can't always find the skin, the tough skin that you need to survive. Like all the other things, all the skills that you have to learn along the way, and not all of them have to do with the art. You have to learn a lot of skills, a lot of people skills, there's a lot of things that go into the equation that has nothing to do with money. And if you can get good at all the skills that don't cost you anything, the money will eventually just start flowing. And I believe in that.
And to be completely transparent, there are a lot of little things that will shut people down. In the studio right now, it's a bit warm because we can't have the AC on because of the mics. Okay, people we joke about that, but there are some people who would be like, no, it's kind of hot when we record the podcast. I'm not gonna record.
Well,
it
hey,
anymore.
but we'll roll back to whatever episode that was. Like, if I had a nickel for every time somebody called me a homo in like a game lobby, like I wouldn't be playing video games anymore.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like the little stuff puts people off so often that it's like is that really it? Is because you felt hot for 15 minutes every segment? It's like that's what you gave up on.
Somebody made fun of you. They said you weren't good, or like you were a doo-doo head. Like okay, like oh god, I'm done.
Yeah, somebody said your picture was overexposed or underexposed, or your edit was dumb, or they didn't like the way that you edited your video, and that's what made you cry in the corner for 20 minutes. Like there are always going to be people who don't like what you make. Steven Spielberg has critics. I don't think Steven Spielberg stays up at night questioning his validity based off of what some random internet person said about his movie.
Absolutely. That's so right. Some people just they give up at the slightest discomfort, and that's really all it is discomfort, and that's really just building your skin. You know what I mean? That's really that's the build up. That's the tolerance level. You have to be able to get through those smaller things that people are going to always have opinions. Opinions are free. So they're going to give them. Just accept that. And whether you like it or not, it's not always going to go in your favor. I don't recommend watching those comments. You know what I mean? It is what it is.
If you like what Tyler says all the time, the basis of this studio, if you make something that you like, somebody else will like it too. And even if nobody else likes it, you created a piece of content that you're happy with. Now, if you're not doing that, that's the problem. It's not the other people. It's not the money. It's not anything else. It's you're not making products you're happy with. That's the base issue. And if you're doing that, nothing else matters.
Absolutely.
I guess that's it. So we'll catch you next time. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Life Podcast. If you like the show, please rate us on your favorite podcast platform. It really helps us out. If you feel like supporting us in a more direct way, you can check out our Patreon page linked in the description of this video. One last thing, please let your friends know about the podcast. If you like the show, we're sure they'll like it too. If you'd like to reach out to us, send us an email at thelifepodcastshow@gmail.com. We appreciate all of your support, and we'll see you next time. Okay, now let's have a little bit more fun with that, Benji. I don't like to have fun, Eric.